The reason I want to talk or wanted to reserve all things Bitcoin is because we got the Crypto King in the studio with us this morning. He is here to answer my questions and yours. If you've got any, then text them in to us now on 4001. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome into the studio co-founder of Crypto Oasis and also the Secretary General of the Dubai Digital Asset Association, the DDAA, Saka Ereiqat. Saka, great to see you as always. Thanks for joining us.
Very good morning. Thank you so much for this nice introduction.
What's always interesting is when we book someone like Saka, we never really know what's going to go on in the crypto market. So when we asked Saka to come in yesterday, it was because Bitcoin had fallen as much as 8.6%, fell as low as, 75,500 or thereabouts, marking its lowest level since November 2024. And we were sort of thinking, here's a story. And then Saka comes in and it's gone north of $80,000. So I was going to ask you what's behind Bitcoin's sharp drop, but let's talk about sort of the Bitcoin's drop and then rise as well.
Right.
What's prompted this?
I think it's quite interesting to see that particular bounce, right? Because what we're seeing is that the markets are still taking a beating, and Bitcoin slowly but surely is providing finally this narrative that it is a safe haven asset, that you invest in Bitcoin to move out of the volatility that you see in the traditional markets. And we're seeing institutional investors becoming more and more active, and it's the retail investors that are unfortunately giving into this and selling off. If we are really honest with ourselves, we are still higher than an all-time high that we'd ever seen before, right? 6 months ago, if you tell someone that we'd be on these levels, everyone would be celebrating. But in the wider context, as it reached 106, 107, and then fell back, it sounds like a sensational story, but my story has always been the same. Long-term, Bitcoin is only going one way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just gone north of 80 literally within the last few minutes. It's sort of there or thereabouts at present as we talk at the moment. But as you mentioned there, we have been north of 100,000 in the time of Trump, right, as we're calling it at the moment. And there was this sentiment, especially from people like me that aren't in the know, that Trump was good for crypto. He came in, crypto boomed, etc. And then therefore a little bit surprised that I've seen it go down. But this is not a crash. Is that right?
God knows what people refer to as a crash or not. In many ways, it could be argued. I really don't look at it this way, because on the macro level, on the long-term level, we're still doing amazingly good in comparison to traditional markets. I'm quite surprised, like you as well, because we came in and one positive thing about Trump was that he's good for the markets. But unfortunately, we've not seen this. But also, I don't think that this is just specific to crypto. I think the wider market, and with everything that is happening right now, which McKinsey is referring to a perma-crisis, essentially. We're moving from one crisis to the next to the next. And it's during this time that it seems crypto slowly but surely is finally providing a backup to this narrative to say that institutional investors, retail investors have finally a new asset class to move to.
Trump tariffs and crypto. Talk to me about that. Is there a correlation between the two at the moment or not?
Well, anyone that's trying to call the market is someone that I didn't want to directly listen to, because the matter of the fact is no one's been right about this 2-3 times in a row. And people are calling for a $10,000 Bitcoin. Analyst research are calling for a $250,000 Bitcoin before the end of the year. And the matter of the fact is that these tariffs have directly impacted this entire story. But I do think that the tariffs have impacted the wider market. It isn't just necessarily about crypto. If we zoom in on crypto, then what is happening over the past couple of days is actually showing that crypto is slowly but surely becoming an alternative asset to retail and institutional investors alike.
There's a lot of worrying language and narrative out there at the moment, market bloodbaths and trade wars, etc., left, right and centre. It's very easy to get bogged down in the negativity. Is there an opportunity? Is there a buying opportunity here?
Well, look, this is not financial advice, but I've been coming to this show for a couple of years, and my message has always been the same. Slowly but surely buying into Bitcoin is probably the best thing that you can do. And again, not financial advice, but the matter of the fact is when you zoom out far enough, then this chart is only going one way. right? So everyone will need to figure out, do you want to wait a little bit? Do you want to slowly but surely move into it? For me, it's something that religiously on a monthly level happens because Bitcoin is providing an opportunity that to me seems like a generational opportunity. At the same time, these crises that we're seeing all around the world, I also believe that they're generational opportunities, quote unquote, because the matter of the fact is what we're looking at today hasn't happened in a couple of decades. This perfect storm of, geopolitical tension, no clarity on the future, no clarity on regulation, Trump in office who could, come out with a tweet tomorrow and send everything upwards or downwards. So I think it's a unique opportunity and it's one that one should carefully consider to invest in.
Okay, to that point though, and you make a very valid point that, one comment, one tweet can have a massive impact on the markets, etc. So do events like this and what we're seeing with Bitcoin specifically, but crypto as a whole, does that hurt the crypto brand long term at the moment?
There's a fair point to that because the matter of the fact is crypto was supposed to provide the safe haven asset away from the market. And right now we're seeing it more and more correlated to the market. We're still doing better than the traditional market. So if you compare to the Dow Jones, to the S&P, to the Nikkei, we're up in comparison. Having said that, there is a direct correlation now, slowly but surely. So yes, in many ways, the idea was institutions will come in and, we're going to break $1 million for Bitcoin and this is going to be la la land and everyone's going to be happy about it. The matter of the fact is it's taking away from this entire story slowly but surely as institutions more and more are driving actively in this market.
You mentioned, and quite rightly, we're not here to provide financial or investment advice, but you are able to give crypto investors advice, especially in your role as Secretary General of the Dubai Digital Asset Association. We know that a lot of regulation, a lot of regulatory bodies have been put in place here at the moment when it comes to all things crypto. What is the clarion call? What's the shout out to crypto investors, specifically here in the UAE at the moment?
I think here, if you're living here in the UAE, you'd have a hard time to be negative about blockchain and crypto. If you look around, every single emirate is looking at a particular strategy. Abu Dhabi just invested $2 billion into Binance. You have your leaders, all of our highnesses in one way or the other have an agenda around blockchain, Bitcoin, crypto. Abu Dhabi is one of the largest sovereign holders of this. You'd have a hard time finding much wind to a negative comment. Having said that, it is a volatile asset. People don't talk about the risks enough. I actively go towards that risk. I decided that. I don't advise for people to do that. But I do see that it could be. There's a very reasonable argument that we'll see new all-time highs before the end of the year. But God knows, no one's been able to call the market consistently as I know.
Up 2.71% this morning. Bitcoin, that is, currently trading at 80,110. So it is moving, as Saka has just been suggesting, in the right direction at the moment. Saka, always good to catch up with you. Thanks so much indeed for coming in. Saka Ereiqat is the co-founder of Crypto Oasis, joining us live in studio. Thanks for being with us.